is key. And maybe we could begin, Lenny Foster, by my asking you about the story you were telling us as we rushed over here in the taxi cab about your experience back in 1973 in a place called Wounded Knee, South Dakota. What is the significance for people who might just not understand, be watching another country, don't know? What is the significance of Wounded Knee in American history?
40 years ago, we took a stand, a big major stand in upholding treaty rights, bringing into question the need to have our treaty rights recognized and respected for all Indian nations in North America. And the stand was made in Wounded Knee, South Dakota, which was a historical place in history. Tragedy for Oglala, Lakota peoples, and the American Indian movement, which I was a part of. I joined the American Indian movement in Denver, Colorado in 1970 and participated in several campaigns for human rights and treaty rights, one of which was the stand that we made at Wounded Knee, South Dakota. And we took a stand for 71 days against the government forces of the United States government. The federal marshals and the FBI used extreme firepower, and we had to resort to an armed struggle for ourselves to defend ourselves. And I was in on the eastern side of the community near the Wounded Knee Creek, and we had a bunker called Wounded Knee Bunker. And I was in that bunker with Percy Casper, John Carlson, John Perot, and the Menominee Warrior Society. And we just recently had our 40th anniversary of Wounded Knee, 1973, where many veterans came back to pay tribute and pay their respects to many of our brothers and sisters who have passed on. And that was perhaps one of the most significant and profound position or a stand that was made where many people gave up their lives for that struggle. And it brought forth a new awareness, not only in this country nationally, but on an international level. We had many peoples and nations respond and their support, and you know, to be actually there to give us support, and they were from all over the world.
Yeah, that's my next question, because there's not many people who say they stood up to the United States military for 71 days for one day and lived to tell the tale. You guys did that. I mean, there were losses, there were casualties, but in the end, you did hold out. What was achieved, though? What can people say was achieved?
Well, it brought about a new awakening, awareness, and a lot of dignity restored among our people, that we were no longer defeated, or we were no longer colonized in our minds, that we could stand up for our right. And it gave new hope for the future generations. It's been 40 years ago, and a lot of changes have been brought about because of that stand that was made in Wounded Knee. We have Indian Studies program. We have financial aid given to people who are going to college, clinics and medical hospitals have come about, housing, improvement in the infrastructure on the Indian reservation. So it brought forth a lot of this that we felt were part of these agreements and contracts called treaties, and we're asking the United States government to live up to these contracts and agreements, the treaties.
How are you now? You're at the United Nations, and they're having Indigenous Peoples Week there at the UN, and are you participating in that?
Oh yes, I've been participating since the late 70s.
As an independent country? I mean, are
well,
Native people?
Our Indian peoples are recognized as an Indigenous Peoples Forum, and NGO are organizations such as the International Indian Treaty Council, AIM West, American Indian Movement, and other organizations are recognized as NGO. And NGO are organizations which have status to have their issues heard in the United Nations Forum. And the Permanent Forum for Indigenous People allows indigenous people from New Zealand, Australia, South America, Central America, Mexico, North America, and Canada and Alaska. So it allows many of our relatives to come to New York City and participate in this forum and to present their issues that they feel are affecting their well-being or the welfare of their existence and their
an international forum, right?
Yeah,
and into the whole
international
world.
Yes, and they feel that's very important. That was one of the reasons we took a major stand. Was Indian people were not being respected or recognized. Our water was being stolen, and lands were being stolen, and no rights were being given, and all the rights guaranteed in these treaties were forgotten or just ignored, and we felt that our human rights, civil rights, is very important for our existence, and as caretakers, stewards, landlords, if you will, of this North America, Western Hemisphere, and we want to be able to have a say at the table and negotiate or discuss some of these arrangements that were made and guaranteed rights through contracts or treaties.
Now, on Friday, this is an opportunity to talk about what's coming up. It's Friday, May 24th, from 6:30 to 9:30 at a place called Casa de las Americas, which is 182 East 111th Street between Lexington Avenue and 3rd Avenue. We were just there.
Yes.
Right? There's going to be, and with a reception at 6:30. Wow, that's nice. The LB, the Leonard Peltier Defense and Offense Committee chapter in New York City, the Jericho Movement, Pro Libertad, are having this event, and you're speaking at it. It's called Lenny Foster, Native American Issues and Leonard Peltier. Again, this Friday, May 24th, 6:30 to 9:30 at 182 East 111th Street, which is Casa de las Americas. And you're going to speak about Leonard Peltier, and I'm putting it into context because a moment ago we were talking about Wounded Knee and about the advances that were made for Native people in the United States after Wounded Knee, yet it didn't come easily. There were many years of struggle in the 1970s after that, in which right-wing forces or reactionary forces within the Native community working together with the whites and with the government tried to really hold down this movement for a number of years. And Leonard Peltier, I guess it was the culmination of that, his situation.
Yes. I've known Leonard Peltier since 1970. I met him on the streets of Denver, Colorado. We were both young, idealistic, and looking for changes to be brought into the Indian world, and we were young, idealistic, and we both joined the American Indian movement. I sundanced with him at Crow Dog's Paradise in Rosebud, South Dakota, and I myself had danced 24 years. It was a commitment to our spiritual beliefs and practices, and Leonard did the same thing, and we both joined the American Indian movement, and part of our commitment or dedication to obligation that we have for the community is to protect our elders, our seniors, and that was one of the doings that the movement was engaged in, was to protect the communities, and the elders and the senior citizens had asked for protection from the American Indian movement, and Leonard was part of a group from the Northwest, and they came into the reservation, and after Wounded Knee, they proceeded to stay and help with the community, chopping wood, hauling water, planting gardens, and just taking care, ensuring that the elders and senior citizens were protected, because the Goon Squad, Guardian of Oglala Nation, Goon Squad from the Oglala Sioux tribe.
Who were the Goon Squad?
They were President Dickie Wilson's auxiliary police force, and they were just citizens of their tribe, and they proceeded to terrorize the community and just shoot indiscriminately at people who disagreed with the administration or questioned why the traditional people, the elders, the senior citizens were being terrorized, the traditional people who wanted a say in their tribal government proceedings, how the funding for programs were used. It was being misused and abused. There was graft and corruption. So when the Oglala peoples and the elders questioned why this was happening, the President, Dickie Wilson, proceeded to bring forth his goon squad.
And a lot of people were killed. This wasn't just like by goon, you think of pushing around and beating up, but it wasn't just that. There was people who were killed.
Extreme prejudice, extreme racism against their own people, and these were against people who are traditional beliefs, people who adhere to the culture, to the ceremonial ways of life and their traditional lifestyle. And it got very, very dangerous, and
it culminated with an incident, right? Where
it finally resulted in a lot of gunfire, and one day in June 25th, 1975, they had an incident where the federal forces, the FBI, came onto the reservation without any warrant and proceeded to terrorize the community of Oglala, and the young warriors made a stand, and there was an exchange of gunfire, and as a result there were 2 FBI agents who were killed. No one knows who the shooter was. They blamed it on the 3 oldest men of that camp there, and Leonard Peltier, Dino Butler, and Bob Robidoux were the oldest ones, and Leonard, I believe, was 32 years old, so they picked him out as he was the leader, though he was not the shooter, nor was he even carrying a weapon. But there was false evidence, there was testimony that was false, or
The Trial of Leonard Peltier is a great book. I would suggest to get the details of all of this, because we don't have enough time to talk about all the things that happened, the multiple trials, the hundreds of witnesses and thousands of hours. The Trial of Leonard Peltier, Matheson's book.
Peter Matheson.
Peter Matheson's book is great. There's you can go to your library and learn more about this case and know more about the details of the trial and see just what a travesty it was. Leonard Peltier was one of several people put on trial. Others were acquitted. He had basically the same evidence in the same type of case, and yet he was convicted.
Yes, all his constitutional rights were thrown out the door. His constitutional rights were violated. There was evidence that was fabricated, false witnesses, false affidavits. It was a complete travesty of the criminal justice system, and yet he remains in prison after 38 years. And one of my duties or tasks that I've taken for the last 28 years is visiting him in the federal prison and conduct sweat lodge ceremonies, pipe ceremonies, and provide spiritual counseling for him.
Where is he now? Where is
he's at the United States Penitentiary, Coleman, Florida, and he's been there for over almost 2 years now. And before that, he was in Leavenworth, Kansas, and he was in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. Both were United States Penitentiary, maximum security. So we're hoping that, that we're able to convince the Obama administration to seek release on executive clemency. That's one of our tasks. And we met with officials today to discuss the protocol, how we could proceed with that. And we have hopes that he will be released. He's not in good health. He's experiencing some bad health. He has high blood pressure, diabetes. So he needs to be outside, getting fresh air and able to walk. We want him to be released. We pray that he be released so he can go home to North Dakota and be with his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren. He's 69 years old. He's been incarcerated for 38 years for a crime he did not commit. He was not the shooter, and we feel that in order for a real reconciliation between the United States government and the Indian communities, that President Obama do the right thing and release him on executive clemency, and a real reconciliation will begin between the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, because Leonard Peltier is known throughout the world as a political prisoner. Just today, had an inquiry from people in Peru. They want to know how Leonard Peltier is doing. And these are people at the United Nations at this time, just wanting to hear some of their concerns and issues, heard about their land, sacred sites, their human rights, and then just being able to participate as a world citizen in their countries and not be terrorized or have the continue colonization and brainwashing that has taken place through these years. And there's a new awakening. The Indigenous people has awoken, and Wounded Knee, what happened to Wounded Knee in 1973 led to that awareness and to that dignity and pride all Indigenous people are experiencing. So it's more than just what happened. It's brought about a new awareness, a new awakening among Indigenous people throughout the world.
Lenny Foster, you'll be speaking Friday, May 24th, is coming Friday, at the Casa de las Americas, which is 182 East 111th Street between Lexington Avenue and 3rd Avenue. That's, again, this Friday, May 24th, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And, oh, there's an email here, NYCLPDOC, New York City, Leonard Peltier Defense Offense Committee at gmail.com, so you can get more information there. And you'll be speaking on Leonard Peltier. And have there, I mean, can you talk about any outreach that's happened to the Obama administration? Because
well,
we've
made contacts, and efforts are being made to do the appropriate process or protocol to ensure that the information, the documentation is being prepared, and to meet with the appropriate peoples to discuss the protocol for executive clemency. And it's in the works, and we feel happy that President Obama will listen and hopefully do the right thing. I'd like to say something here in my native tongue. Di kujishana nishnat igiju ein le wali hotsa nikiden le wali hotsa na has tronije adishana nishnat eba trandishta trache chodel edo net ostse chodel edo di bujia tido nalsos na degid adishana nishnash ado ba hens in di kwa haditsi she don't need igiju Leonard Peltier ba yashtkito ba hasti do isik isat Ako in Hando Datlnits and Jado Datla Wally Hot Sado, Jado Datlon Hando Datli, the Nido Tadils and would you could Tadizini, the Biat Eho, the Al Nilso, the Kododan His, you get Kun Hidini do Lado, the good sick is Joe Pashne Gideon Hando Dal Jado Datlnits and Ado, you would
Thank you. Tell me about the language. And I guess I didn't ask.
It's one of the oldest languages in the world. Basically, the Navajo, our people are in the four corners of the United States: Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. And we're the largest Indian nation in the Western Hemisphere. And I'm speaking one of the oldest languages known to man. And I just presented myself by introducing myself. I'm a Townhouse clan, born from Mountain Cove, and my grandparents on my mother's side are River Edge, and my Nollies are my grandparents on my father's side are Navajo, one who walks around. I said I was from Fort Defiance, Arizona. I work for the Navajo Nation. I live in Window Rock, Arizona, and I've been doing this work for 31 years. And I've known Leonard Peltier for 28 of those years, and I visit him, conduct sweat lodge ceremonies, and pray with him with the pipe. And I also visit other Native Americans, specifically the members or citizens of the Dine Nation, Navajo Nation. and advocate for their religious rights and practices while they're incarcerated. And that's the most positive therapy available for them. We want our people to get well, go through a recovery, and come home. We want Leonard Peltier to be released and come home. A real reconciliation will begin between Indian peoples of this country, this Western Hemisphere, and the government, because it's very important that we reach that unity and harmony.
Very interesting. I want to go back to a little anecdote that I saw when I was on the internet before we came here this afternoon. That was about when you were at Wounded Knee in 1973 as a young dog soldier, and somebody said, Dennis Banks wants to see you.
Oh, yeah.
What was that like? What was that incident?
Well, I was sitting in a bunker, and we were there the whole time. Percy Casper and John Carlson, we were sitting there and then talking about how are we going to get out of here? Are we going to surrender on May 7th? And we said, no, I'm not surrendering. I'd rather walk out of here. And then just at the same time, Henry Wasik, one of the brothers that were close to Dennis Banks, came to our bunker and they said, hey, DJ wants to see you, Lenny. Me? For what? What did I do? You know, because I really didn't have that contact with the leaders like Russell Means, Dennis Banks, Clyde Balcourt, because we were in the front lines and they were in the command posts back behind the front lines. And then when they say DJ wants to see you, which is Dennis Banks wants to see you, uh-oh, what did I do? So I went back there to the log cabin. He was sitting in there. I said, come on in, Lenny, sit down. You want some coffee? So I said, sure. And he started talking to me about he's been looking at all the warriors that are left in the knee, and then he wants me. He said, I want you to walk point for me to walk out of here. We're not gonna surrender. I said, I'm not surrendering either. So some people made up their mind that they were going to surrender. I said, no, I'm not going to do that, because you surrender, they fingerprint you, they take your picture, and they have you for the rest of your life. So I said, okay, I'll walk out. I'll walk point for you, and we decided to do that. And to make the long story short, we walked out of there that night, and along the way we encountered the FBI, the federal marshals with their German Shepherd dog. Had an owl visit while we were proceeding out past the perimeter, and landed in the tree, and big giant white owl. And I was wondering, God, what that's an omen. And it did that 3 times as we proceeded out. It was 11 miles journey from Wounded Knee to Porcupine, which was where we had to go to get out of there. And it was up and down these hills, and so this owl appeared in my path there because I was walking point. I was about 20 yards ahead of the DJ and the rest of them. So it did that, and it kept going to the east, and I decided to just go ahead and follow him. And there was the road. It was open, there's no, it was just flat, so we started walking there. I told DJ, we'll just walk along this road. It's easier than going up and down those hills. And he said, okay. So I let him out of there. And about a mile before we got to Porcupine, there was a car running down below this hill. I went down there to investigate, and I saw there was 2 FBI agents sitting in the car. They had their car running. And I decided to come back up and say, we got to avoid it, we got to go around. And we started to do that. They turned their lights on, and they saw there was 4 of us, or there was 4 of us and DJ, so there's 5 of us. They saw one of the brothers in our group, and they proceeded to call for reinforcements, and they all came. But we went to the tree line away from the road, and we were over this little hill, and they pulled up, and we could hear their cars, the doors opening, slamming. They were talking, and they had a dog. They had a German Shepherd dog. And earlier, the day before, we had the sweat lodge ceremony where we prayed with Crow Dog and Black Elk, and he said he was going to make us invisible when we proceed out of here through that pipe. So we had to believe in that prayer. And we cleansed ourselves, we purified ourselves, we smoked a pipe, and we smudged ourselves with the cedar and the sage, so the dog couldn't smell us. So when that dog was out and around, out of nowhere comes these reservation dogs, and they came in there and ran a diversion, got in almost into a fight with the German Shepherd, and these skinny, malnourished reservation dogs came into our rescue, and it allowed us a split second to get away, and we got away. And within a couple hours, the sun came up. We had made our escape.
Wow.
And we didn't, those dogs, the FBI, they never knew who it was. And we got away because of our spirituality, because of our ceremonial beliefs, the pipe and the sweat lodge, crow dog and black elk.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah, and that was intense, very intense. It was a very serious moment, and we got away. And I didn't tell that story for many, many years. Like I said, we just had our 40th anniversary. So this is one of the very few times that I'm telling this story. So if you want to get a hold of us and discuss more discussions about some of those times, you can come to our lecture at this address that he mentioned.
Sure, Friday, May 24th is coming Friday, 6:30 to 9:30, Casa de las Americas, 182 East 111th Street between Lexington Avenue and 3rd Avenue. Our Lenny Foster, who is, as you heard, at Wounded Knee and is a spiritual advisor to Leonard Peltier and many, many others, will be speaking on the issue of Leonard Peltier. We have half a minute. Anything you'd like to add with, go out with, Lenny?
I just want to thank you, and we continue to pray and hope that Leonard Peltier will be released and be able to come home one day. And
is there anything we can do? Anything
just continue to provide support. I think there's a phone number on there.
There sure is, yes.
Maggie Tobin is the contact person. If you make your contribution, support, your presence, that would be appreciated.
All right, thank you very much. And next week we'll be talking about Bradley Manning's case, which is coming up. So we'll see you then. Thanks very much. And thank you very much, Lenny Foster,
thank you.
for joining us.